Friends, well, thank you for joining me on another Let's Talk with the Doc. I'm excited to be here this evening as always. I am blessed to have some of the best guests, in my opinion, and it's always proven to be right. Some of the best people God has blessed me to have contact with are some of my friends to introduce them to my program so we can hear some fascinating stories and journey with them over their lives experiences. And this evening I have with me Dr. Steve Cassimy. And I don't know how familiar that is to some people, but you will hear a lot more about this story as we go on in the program. So, welcome to Let's Talk with the Doc. When I come back, I will be talking to Dr. Steve Cassimy. ORB Ministry presents Let's Talk with the Doc. Grace Without Borders podcast. A thought for you. Ask Pastor. And a whole lot more. You never know what's next or who will join the conversation. All right, Dr. Cassimy, good to have you on the program, sir. Welcome back. May I say welcome back to Let's Talk with the Doc.
Thank you so much, Dr. Beckford. Thank you.
At least the first time when you were on, it was on a sad occasion that we were talking about our friend who has just gone on to be with the Lord, which was as sad as it gets. And now we are here and we want to chat on a lighter note, on less emotional strain, so we can freely relax and talk to you. I'm excited to have you on the program. Thanks for responding and welcome to the conversation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
How has your day been?
Day is busy. Day has been busy. My wife and I, we've been working on some retirement stuff. So we were at the headquarters there today and had a few other things to do. But it was a good day. We accomplished a lot today.
Yeah, well. Good for you and your wife. I hope that I hope to get right where you are soon. They say when I grow up, I want to be just like you. So I'm hoping to get right where you are soon. Um, Before even going into the conversation with you, talk about your own story. Has anybody ever told you that you sound just like Bishop McKay?
No, not
Nobody
yet.
ever told you that?
Not yet.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Listen, if my wife and I spoke about that in the after we listened to you in our previous conversation, and if I close my eyes and listen to you, I'm almost thinking that I'm hearing Bishop Mackey. That is how close your guys' voices are, and maybe you don't detect it because it's your voice. You're not hearing you because sometimes we don't, place our own voices exactly where others hear it.
Doc, I take that as a compliment. I take that as a compliment.
All right,
I
but
really
that
do. I
I and
really do.
I appreciate that, but sincerely, seriously, if anybody listening who actually really knew Bishop McKay and listen to your voice now, you say, "Wow, how close it does that sound to Bishop McKay." All right, so tell me about your story. I get a little bit of glance, a little bit of glimpse of who you are. I got to know you by our conversation when we talked about our friend who has gone on with the Lord, and then after that I get to find out even more about you, how involved you are, what ministry is like. your contribution to, what's the word I say? Your generous contribution to the kingdom of God, and your unselfishness to ministry and other people, accommodating others. We will get to that point. But in trying to find out your story, I like to go back in the early days of Steve Cassimy, before the doctor and the father and the dad and the husband and all those additional pieces. Tell me about Steve Cassimy, what it was like. And I like to say, when you found out that Steve was around, like the early days, I discovered I am Steve. Tell us about that early days story about Steve Cassimy.
Well, I'm from a family of eight children.
Eight
Mom,
children. So you got
four
seven
boys,
siblings.
4 boys, 4 girls. One
Wow.
one one sister died about 10, 12 years ago.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, mom and dad was born in Trinidad, and
Okay.
um, my folk was very spiritual.
Okay.
Both parents, especially my mom, a great prayer warrior, and my
Okay.
mom is still alive. She's
Oh,
going to
good for her.
be she's going to be 97 on the 1st of May.
Whoopee.
Yeah, she's going to be 97 the 1st of
97.
May. Right, right, right,
So
right,
you
right.
have, I am assuming you have good genetic makeup.
By God's grace, we are seeing one sister died, but my oldest sister is almost, she's about 78, 79 now.
Wow.
Um, and then she is retired. Several of my siblings have retired. There are just, I think, three of us who are still working, but most of them have retired. Uh, three brothers, 3 brothers, 4 boys, as I said, three of us pastors,
Good for
and
you guys. Good for you. So your parents are pastoral production managers.
that's why I said they're very spiritual. Yeah, I mean, I could have said religious, but I think it's the spirituality more than anything that brought us to where we are. The girls, most of them, I think just about all of them did nursing. you know
Okay.
in the old days when I grew up, you either as a Christian young person, you either went into teaching, or you went into teaching or nursing or some social science, never a lawyer or anything like that, because mom used to say lawyers are liars and all those kinds of things. So the kids, the children, most of us just went into the social sciences. I taught for about a year and a half before going to Canada, where I ended up during the Steve days of life. Good family, wonderful family, and I thank God for the family that He led me into. And then, as a young man finishing high school, I was able to finish up, and then I got a nice little gig at the Bank of Nova Scotia when I was still a teenager. And the Bank of Nova Scotia allowed me to go to Canada, and they worked things out. I was supposed to be a bank manager, Doc, years and years ago, but the Lord.
I'm good. I I'm gonna push up to get up to those places. Right? I don't want I don't want I don't I want to know more about your story. So I don't want to get a synopsis or a summary of the journey. I want to journey with you, coming up as a young boy born in Trinidad. Um, Tell me what life was like in Trinidad, and at what point did your parents take you out of or send you out of Trinidad? What was life like for you in Trinidad, an island, southern Caribbean island? What was it like for you, born in Trinidad and the surroundings?
Life was wonderful. We had good parents who took good care of us as children, going to school, primary school, secondary school, making sure that kids. My mom never worked outside of the home, even to this day. Never worked
Wow.
outside of the home. When you have
Wow.
8 kids, you better stay home to take care of the kids. And so
Well,
she
that's more than a job itself, right?
yeah, yes, yes, yes. And sometimes we weren't wealthy or anything. We struggled like most West Indian families at that time. My father worked, had two jobs. He was a night watchman, and he was also what we call a colporteur, selling religious books.
Okay,
And
okay.
so he did that to balance the family and to make sure that ends would be met. Um, um, Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful sort of camaraderie with the kids. The older ones took care of the younger ones. I was I was number six. I was number six.
That
So
was gonna be my question. Where did you fall in the group?
yeah, I was number six, which would be a middle child sort of thing. But there are some dynamics which took place. Most of the older ones had gone away early in life, and so I ended up with the characteristic of an older child because I had to take care of the others who stayed by. So there is, you know how it is. Oldest child goes to grandmother's
Mm-hmm,
house
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and lives with other family and relatives, and oldest is now middle. So that those were my dynamics. But
So
I
they, somebody move on, and then somebody got to take the space, right?
right.
Somebody, yeah. Okay.
Right. So I am told from all my clinical work that I don't have one bone of a middle child in me. All the bones are of the eldest child. So I had to take up those responsibilities later on. But as a boy, as you mentioned, it was good. I didn't do a lot of the things that little boys did. I was a mama's boy,
Mm-hmm.
and so I help mommy with a lot of the things. Up to today, my siblings talk about it all the time. Learn to cook, learn to clean, to wash, to iron, to get the clothes white using the little blue cubes,
Yep, I remember
and
those.
learning how to make rice and peas and stewed chicken and all that. Mom would be in the backyard, doing her laundry, washing, and everything, and she'd be telling me what to do as I went along. So instead of being down by the playground watching soccer or watching cricket, I spent a lot of time home with mommy and also with my books.
Wow. So you
Yeah,
were developing the industrial acumen. You were focused on, yes, industry and and academic. So
yeah.
okay.
And that wasn't something that was planned. It just fell on me, and so I did it. I did it willingly, and happily. I said to you, I was a mama's boy. I still am a mother's boy, and so mom would be doing things with older ladies, and I was always in the middle. She would be in choir practice, and while in choir practice, I would be with her sitting in the congregation and singing. And I remember one time, I still remember this. I was telling my wife this the other day. Um, the choir was practicing for service, and I was there, and I was singing my little heart out, maybe 6, 7 years old. And the music director stopped the choir, and I was singing, and I forgot that they were listening. So I did a little singing when I was younger.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
so yeah, and
Oh,
and and then through school until yeah
so
until
what
I
what
got.
what 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 did you sing? What did you sing?
I sang in a quartet when we were in church. I sang first tenor, uh, falsetto, and then in college we had a university quartet. We traveled throughout Canada, and I sang bass.
Okay.
I sang bass.
I can hear a little bit of that, and so I was gonna ask if you do baritone or you do bass. Which one?
Yeah, I sang bass, and we were on television, the radio. We were in Alberta, Canada, but you don't want to go there yet, so I'll hold back those things.
Okay, all right, all right. Okay, so growing up, so that was lifestyle boy in Canada, in Trinidad. Not too much into sports and athletics and all of those things. More in the home industry and education, learning. Okay, so when did that break out? When did you break away from that regimen, or when did you say, okay, I got to expand something? What happened after that?
Um, because of the industrial kind of thing that you mentioned, homeboy, that sort of thing. One of my teachers in secondary school, what kind of got very interested in me and the way I related to her. You know, I was her favorite child in school and stuff. And her son was a an accountant at the bank, and he told her that he was looking for a young man who is honest, and he wanted somebody to train to be a bank manager. And so it was wide open, and he of course told her this, and she called me and told me that I needed to go. She didn't ask me to go. She said, I need you to go to a certain place at a certain branch. My son is the accountant there, and I want you to go there because he wants to hire somebody, and I believe he will hire you.
At what age that was?
I was about 18.
Okay, so you're grown up. You're grown up young man then by then.
Yeah, I was about 18.
You're about 18. So what was life like for you in school? I'm what kind of boy were you in school? What was your school environment like? And before I even get there, before I even get to school, what was the dynamic? The dynamic. I know you see some of your siblings moved on and you have to act like big brother. But what was the dynamic in that number of boys, four girls? What was the dynamic among them? Dominance, subjection, one two rule, one two. What was it like? And where did Steve fall in the mix?
Yeah, yeah. There was there was no dominance. No one ruled. Everybody was subject to parents' authority. Um, um, Discipline was certainly something that the West Indian family grew up with, and our family grew up with it also. As I mentioned to you earlier on, the older ones looked after the younger ones, and at a very early age, my eldest sister and a couple of the other ones left for the United States 50, 60 years ago. So we were young, we were still young. And so when they moved on, I think my sister was 18 or 19 when she left, my older sister.
Mm-hmm.
And so us younger ones, we had to step in and take care of each other. Eight children is it's a lot, but there was no fighting among the kids, and nobody dominated. We didn't have time for that. There was too many other things to do. Getting education was a key component for our family. Spirituality, religiosity, very much so. Um, Services of the church, Sunday evening services, Wednesday evening prayer meeting, Saturday Sabbath, all day in church. Those things were the key components in us, and doing your Bible, learning Bible verses, and yeah, it was just from one thing to another.
Okay, so fully indulged in. You say education was one key component of the family. Um, uh, what did what level? Because some of us we grew up and our parents weren't privileged to have the level of education that they would have wanted for themselves. But they were aware of their own um, lack of achievement, if I could say. And some parents were bent on making sure that what they were deprived of, if I could use a term, that their children would not be deprived of it. Was that the same for your family, or your parents were already highly educated? Which one was it?
My father was a police officer,
Okay, okay.
and when he became a Seventh Day Adventist, he gave that up. My mother, she finished high school also, so they both finished high school. Um, my father, if he had the opportunity, my father would either be a doctor or a lawyer. He was a
Hmm.
very bright, very intelligent man. Um, and my mother, she was just a wonderful mother. She still is a wonderful mother. And education was the watchword for us. We all went to school. If there was not enough funds from our parents, my mother would find one of her relatives, our relatives, who I had an uncle, um, a granduncle who was a lawyer, and he helped to put through primary school, private school, two of my siblings.
Oh,
My
wonderful.
sister became a nurse, my brother became a pastor. And
Okay.
then my mother would do little odd jobs. She would do a little sewing and stuff to make sure that there was enough money. In those days, education, I think it was common entrance or one of those things.
Yep, yep.
It
Remember
was,
those things.
yeah, there was nothing like that yet. When I started, um, I was probably the third one in the family who did sat common entrance, and we all got through with common entrance. So that education was a watchword in the home, very very important, that you we studied, we got, and I tell you, um the church, being involved in the church played a great part in memorizing Bible verses, and learning and standing in front and leading out, and having talks and discussions. All those things contributed highly to a quality education. Of course, that education does not only happen in a school environment.
Right, right,
Education
right.
is something that happens. Learning is anytime you learn, that's being educated.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. All right. Well. Thank you for giving us a little bit insight into that. All right. So at what
If I
point?
didn't hit everything, just go back and ask me.
That's fine. That's fine. If it pops in my mind,
All
I
right.
do that because I like to get the story, because a lot of people don't, what people don't know. And one of the assets or the good things of this program is that people who know us, from a ministerial standpoint, they see us in the administrative level, or the preaching level, or the seminars, or the counseling level, and sometimes they don't associate you with real life history or real life stories. They just see you as the minister with the portfolio, the platform, and they say, okay, they see you at that level. And some people are never had a conversation, because the environment never warrants that, to have a conversation. What was it like when you're growing up? Where were you born? You know what it was like. So this program helps to bring out some of those things, and even some of your best friends, they said, wow, I didn't know that about it. And I said this because I said this about one of my friends that I had in my program, and he had been my friend for 50 plus years, from young boys growing up, teenagers, Christian boys becoming preachers, pastors. And there were some things about his life that I did not know. I didn't know until I had him on my program, just sometime last year. And it almost brought me to tears.
Mhm.
The guy that I knew for 50 something years. We sleep at each other's house, eat at the table. I mean, we've done so many things together. So this program helps to, tap into what people did not know about Steve Cassimy, and we are
Certainly.
just getting in there. So tell me, okay, so at what age you, because, okay, so how did that bank thing at a teenager, college, yeah, you went into college, I see all of that, and now at the early age, you were a good prospect for a bank, a job at the bank. How did that go when you were told, go there? I think they might hire you. How did that go?
Well, I went as she told me to go. I went, and the bank manager was a very tall, a Caucasian man. He was about 6'6".
In Trinidad.
Yes, in Trinidad, Bank of Nova Scotia.
Okay.
I went there. It was the last day he was taking applications, and when he saw me, he said to me, "Have a seat." I sat down, and then he said to me, "Where is your resume?" I said, "I didn't have one." I said, "I was the resume." Young man didn't know what a resume was.
Yeah, what a resume was that, right? Yeah.
Just finished high school.
Yeah.
And then he said to me, how many GCE, that's O
Yeah.
levels,
Yeah. I
how many
remember
do you
those.
have? I think I had 5 or 4 or something.
Oh.
And he said, did you pass math? I said, no, I flunked math.
Oh,
He
wow.
said, and you want to work in the bank? I said,
Uh.
certainly. So
So,
he
because
said,
the bank is where math is the
well, of
primary thing,
course,
right? Numbers
of
are running.
course, of course. And so he said to me, I don't know. I don't know. I have 21 applicants.
Wow.
You are number 22.
Oh my
You
goodness.
you are the youngest. You are the
Wow.
least qualified,
Oh my goodness.
and you are a Seventh-day Adventist.
Oh Lord of
I
mercy.
understand that you cannot work late on Fridays and on Saturdays. So he said to me, "You. That's basically," he said, "That's those are 3 strikes you
All
have."
the odds are against you, right?
Yeah, he said, "Those are 3 strikes you have." But that he sat back in his chair, big black chair, and he placed his hands behind his head, and he rocked back and forth for about a minute. And he said to me, "Again, you are the youngest, the least qualified, and you have some issues working on certain dates." He said, "But there is something in me that's telling me to hire you."
Wow.
And he looked at me and he said to me, "When can you begin to work?
Wow.
Do you want to stay today and work, or you want to begin tomorrow?" And he invested in me from that day. And sometimes on a Friday evening, um, you know, the Sabbath keepers from sunset Friday to sunset
Right, right, right.
Saturday. Sometimes, and of course, that the sun sets early in the Caribbean, not like here at 7, 8
Right.
o'clock.
Yeah,
About
yep,
5
yep,
o'clock, the
yep,
sun would set.
yep.
My first Friday, Doc, working there, the bank was full in those days. You know how it used to be in the olden days. Everybody came for their check.
Everybody come to cash their paycheck or to get
Right.
some, for
Bank was
shopping Saturday.
bank was full.
Yep, yep.
And so
You're
he
right with
stood,
that.
he opened his door about 4:30, quarter to 5, as the sun was setting. And the first Friday, he says, as he stood there, bank is full, maybe 60, 70 people in the bank. And he said this. He said, "Steve, pack your things up so you can leave, because your Sabbath will draw nigh soon, and I don't want you in the branch."
Wow.
Sent me home.
Wow.
Everybody heard him.
Wow.
And so from that day onward, everybody was very protective of me and my Sabbath keeping, making sure that at 4 o'clock, 4:30, it doesn't matter what time, as long as I was ready to go. And then when I'm leaving on a Friday, everybody would say, "Bye bye, Steve. Happy Sabbath."
Did, did
Yeah.
did
So
that did that did that create any level of jealousy for anybody that did anybody show any level of jealousy? Everybody was happy for you?
not at all. Everybody was happy for me. I tell you this, you probably need to know this. I was one of the first black boys to work in a bank in Trinidad in those days.
Really?
In those days, the banking were whites, Caucasians, Chinese,
Hmm.
East Indians.
Really?
Those were the people. Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes.
So that's a little bit surprising to me. So okay, so that means you have had at least a good population of those ethnic group of people for the banks to be predominantly populated by them as the workers.
Well, Trinidad, a lot of people don't know, but Trinidad is 40% black, 40% Indians, about 10% white, about 10% Chinese, and the
Really?
other the other little mixture of people that we have. But a lot of people don't know that the population in Trinidad is a 40-40 East Indians and blacks.
Wow. That's well, I mean, I don't study statistics on the Caribbean islands, but that's a little bit surprising to me. That's a
Mhm.
little bit surprising to me. And it's a little surprising to hear that the percentage of the workers in the banks back then, that you were the first black boy in a Nova Scotia bank there in Trinidad at that time.
In that area,
In
in
that
that
area.
area,
In that
yes, in
area.
that
Okay.
area.
That's
Um,
interesting. So how did that make you feel as an 18-year-old? Uh, and I like to pop back in the mind, what went through your mind when he sat there and kept telling you you are the youngest, the least qualified, plus you have all these issues.
It was the first time I was being interviewed, and it was I just waited until the interview was over to hear what he had to say. I didn't realize that he was going to make up his mind right there, so I sat out, like a good boy would do, good young boy would do, and when he told me that. He asked me if I can begin work today. I was surprised, very surprised. I was the youngest and least qualified of 22
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
And he said, you can start working today. Um, Again, they spoiled me at the branch. Whenever there was anything happening in the branch and there was liquor and those things, they always got me some soft drinks and stuff. I was so
So
yeah.
at least they respected,
Oh
even
yeah,
if they didn't honor it, but at least they respected it and respected it openly.
certainly, certainly, certainly.
Wow. How long did you work there?
A year and a half.
A year and a half.
Yeah, a year and a half. There was a promotion for. Uh, I became the I became an assistant to the junior accountant. He was teaching me to become an accountant, and there was they were looking for young men and women to go to Canada to the banking school there to be trained to become bank managers.
Hmm.
And I was chosen to be one of those. And so
So
that's when I
from
left.
then they saw the potential. They saw everything in you that say, yeah, this guy is groomable, if that's a term I could use.
Yeah, even though I didn't pass math.
Because that's okay. So do you look back at that, and what's your assessment of looking back at that? Okay, I flunked maths. Bank work assignment is the heart and soul of math, or math is the heart. Math is the main artery, if I could use that term, right? Math is the main artery of a banking system, accounting, and all of that. And you flunked it, but still they said, okay, do you look back at that and said this was something divine, or what's your calculation of what must have brought the man to that decision?
Well, up to this point where we are, it is only God's intervention. I had nothing to do with me being hired, nobody else. It was divine intervention because there was a path that God was leading me to, which I'll let you know when we get there.
Amen, 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 amen. I say time and time again, my friend. I said it time and time again. Purpose, purpose, purpose. And when God got a purpose and a plan, A lot of the things that unfold in your journey, sometimes they make no sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't put the pieces together because they don't fit to society's standard and requirement, right? And one of my line that I said to my guests every now and then, that one of these days God will unveil to you the mystery of your history. You look back and see why did all these pieces, why did all this happen? All right, so now you fall in that you were elected, selected, or chosen to be one of those going to Canada. What happened to you now? So now your life is you're picking up pieces in of your life in Trinidad, and you're leaving your homeland and you're going to a strange place, Caribbean to cold Canada. Tell me about that transition.
So the bank bought me my ticket to go to Canada to begin bank school about a month later. So I got about 3-4 weeks vacation to begin bank school. They bought me my ticket, $105 for the ticket,
you,
return
you
ticket.
you can recall that
I
much.
can recall. I can recall. I can recall. And so I got to Canada, and it was on a Saturday, a Sabbath. I was at the church service. Remember, I'm going to bank school in about 3 weeks' time,
Right.
and the college, the Adventist school, they had a big choir that went around singing, and they came to a place called Mississauga in Ontario,
I know about Mississauga.
and they were singing there, and they were also recruiting students for the school. And the one of the recruiters came over to me, and he looked at me and said, "Can I speak to you?" I said, "Sure." I was only in the country for about 2 weeks. I said, "Sure." His name is Ralph Jurians. And he said to me, what do you do? So I told him that I was here from Trinidad, getting ready to go to bank school in 3 weeks' time. And um, I would be going back to Trinidad when everything was done. And he looked at me and he said these words to me. There are some things I remember word for word, and there's some numbers I remember, like $105 for my ticket. He said to me, "You look like someone who can work for the Lord instead of working in a bank." He
Really?
didn't tell me what to do. He just said, "You look like somebody." And he said to me, can we fill out an application and I'll talk to you about it?" I said, "Sure." So he filled out the application. We talked about it, and he left. And he called me a couple of times. I'm getting closer and closer to bank school. And to cut the story a little short, the day that I was supposed to begin bank school, the Monday morning, was the same day that the college began school. And I was beginning to be convinced that the Lord wanted me to go in that direction, to go to
Wow.
college.
Wow.
And so the first thing I had to do, remember now, school is just about a couple of days ahead, and the
Mm-hmm.
bank has paid for me to go to the bank
Yeah.
school and all the
Yeah.
accommodations. So I called the same bank manager, the one who hired me. And when I told him that I was thinking about going to college um, to become a worker for the Lord, because I didn't have it in my mind what I was going to be a pastor or anything, just to prepare myself for the work of the Lord. He said to me, he said two things to me. Three. He said, "Steve, um, we always knew that you were a very religious boy. And so I'm not surprised at this." That's number one. Number two, all we ask of you is to repay the $105 back to the bank anyhow you can. $5 a month, whatever it is, repaid. And number three, the next time you come to Trinidad, make sure and come to the branch, and I have a letter that I'm going to write that anytime you decide to move back to Trinidad, you have a job in the Royal Bank of Canada.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. That was the transition that I made. Now, it gets even better because now I'm going to college in Toronto, and I don't have a dime because the bank was taking care of all of my needs.
Right.
And it was on a Saturday again, just before school. So it's the Saturday, Sunday, and school opens the Monday. Um, I was in the city, and one of my friends, I told him what was happening. Um, he didn't have any money to loan to me. I needed $1,000.
Ooh.
So he said to me, "I have a friend who uh, who has a furniture store. Wonderful Jamaican brother, church boy. Why
Mm-hmm.
don't you go to him and see if he will co-sign for you at one of the banks? Actually, it was a credit union. Let's go to him and see if he will co-sign for you, so you can get $1,000 to take down to the school when you're going, so that you could be all right." So we went to do that this Saturday, the Monday morning. So I'm not in school the Monday morning because I'm looking for money to go to school.
Right.
He co-signed it for me, $1,000, and they approved it. He told me to come back the Wednesday and he would give me the $1,000 so that he knew exactly what I wanted it for. This wasn't money that I was going to just handle. This was school fees.
School fees.
And so I went to him the Wednesday. He told me that he did not have the money. When the Thursday, he told me he did not have the money. When
Uh-oh.
the Friday, he told me, and I'm not in school yet. A week has
Wow.
passed.
Uh-oh.
I go back to him the following Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every
What?
day, nothing. The president of the college calls me and says to me, "Steve, what happened? We're not seeing you in school. What happened?" So I told him the story. He said to me, "Okay, let me come up on the weekend and see what I can do for you." So he comes up, his daughter was driving him, and the Friday, um, the gentleman said to me, I used your money. I spent it. I'm apologizing. If it can wait another 2 or 3 weeks, I can do that for you. But for now, my conscience is not going to be cleared unless I send you $1,000 worth of furniture to your home. I said to him, "I don't have a home. I'm with my brother. I'm going to school." Well, the Friday evening, a truck came to the house, um, a dining room set, a bedroom set, a living room set, and two end tables and lamps and stuff.
So he's giving you the cash into kinds, into
In
furniture.
furniture, yes, because his conscience was bothering him.
Oh Lord of mercy.
But that's the Friday. That's the Friday now, remember. And 2 weeks have passed by and I'm not in school yet. The president promises to come the Sunday to visit me because he wants me in school. Doc, so Sunday he shows up with his daughter, and they're looking, and he says, what's happening? Tell me, because we need you down in school. So I talked to him and I told him what happened. I told him the story. He's seeing the furniture. He says to his daughter, um, didn't you get a new apartment 2 days ago?" She said, "Yes." He said, "Do you have furniture?" She said, "No." He said, "What do you need?" She said, "I need a living room set, a dining room set, um, um, a bedroom set, two end tables and two night tables." He said to me, "Steve, isn't that what you have here?" I said, "Yes." He called the college. They had a woodwork shop there. They had a van. They came the very night. They took it away, and he wrote me a check for $1,000. And the following day, I was at school.
This sounds like a fairy tale, right? This sounds like a fairy tale.
Hey, the amount of people know that fairy tale is not funny.
Well, they say you couldn't make this up. You couldn't make.
No,
right now with how much doesn't make any sense to me. Like it's like okay, I'm trying to see to make sense of this, and it's almost not making any sense to me.
Just think of Joseph, and think of his the favor God had on him.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I tell people all the time, I am blessed and highly favored by God.
Wow,
Very blessed and very
wow,
highly favored of God. And that's
wow.
only part of the journey. If I were to tell you other things that happened when I graduate, when I was in university and stuff, God has been good. God has been good. God has been
Wow.
good.
That is beyond me. Those two experiences, those are stories by themselves, because that would take time for somebody to try to put that into perspective and to make sense of it. It's like the natural man, as the Bible said, the natural man trying to understand spiritual things. It's foolishness to him.
Hmm.
I'm here looking at the steps 1, 2, 3, 4 steps, and I'm trying to say how under God heaven did this happen, and didn't cause any disruption. How did the bank manager back in Trinidad was so calm, cool, and collected, and so favorable? And this man, took the sign for the money, took it for himself, and now, well, that's a whole story. All
Yeah.
right, so how did so the banking thing? So that's where the banking thing died.
Yes. Yes. And I repaid the $105.
Yeah. Out of being honest and say and being godly, yes, I'm not gonna let him down on that.
and
Okay.
and and just to say this to you, Doc, a couple of times when I went back home to visit, just out of just put in context, every time I went back home, um, if I was there for a week or 10 days, I would work at the branch,
Oh,
and they would
really?
pay me. Yeah.
So they didn't have any um anger, bitterness,
Oh
disappointment.
no, absolutely not. We're still friends. If I go by there right now, the couple of them are
Wow.
still there. We're great friends. Great friends.
So I'm just curious. Nobody has ever expressed any disappointment or letting them down after they were investing in you. Nobody have done that.
No, no. Favor. It's called favor. It's called favor, Doc.
That
God's
is
favor.
crazy. That
God's
is that
favor.
is that is beyond me. That is
God's
beyond me.
favor.
Well, that's a great testimony for people to know that God still work favors, right?
He
Favors
does.
still
He
happen.
does. He
All right,
does.
so now you're in school, in college, and your pursuit is something completely different, because now somebody just spoke something into your heart that convinced you that you need to make a shift. I can remember my overseer spoke to me once, and my life just got disrupted, like just like that. Boom. I was going this way, and he said something to me, and one statement that he made into my it spoke into my head. It turned me around like this. Boom. And that's where my life is until today. Just
Mhm.
from one statement, my general overseer, my national overseer said to me back in Jamaica in 1987, 87. I can never forget that. And my life is just like, boom, complete. Just like how you were here, you were there for banking school, and just one thing, somebody pulled you up and sit in a corner, and your life went another direction. That's exactly how mine happened.
Yeah, mine
Wow.
mine went from bank school to going to college, but I wasn't sure of what I wanted to do.
Hmm.
Even my first year in college, I wasn't sure of what I wanted to do. But then my teachers and the principal of the school and others started investing in me and pouring into me. And so even then, um, my transition was not uh, a revolution. It was evolutionary.
Okay.
It worked. It worked its way as folk poured into me, and I was led into this direction. Asked, why don't I try this? Why don't you do this? And here here is a here is a week of prayer we're having. Steve, would you like to be one of the speakers? And it was it was really an evolution. And
Wow.
Yeah, it
Well,
was. It
mine,
was
mine, mine, mine was a revolution. Mine was a revolution,
certainly,
and mine was
certainly.
definitely a revolution. Okay, I'm talking to Doctor Steve Cassimy, an incredible brother that I'm getting to know more and more. And I'd say everybody has a story, but some people's story are just uniquely different, and fascinating. All right, so then, at what point did you decide, after all the counsel, this a possibility, that a possibility, at what point did you get focused on where you want to go and what you want to do?
Uh, Now I'm in college, 4 year college. In about my third year of college, I saw the Lord's hand leading me into pastoral ministry. And
At age?
at age 22, 22,
That's what I was
yeah,
thinking.
22.
Wow.
And I by then I'm in Alberta, Canada, where the university is, and there are not many blacks up there in 1973, 74, 75. There were just a few of us black families up there. Um, I got married. And we moved out there, and so there were just a few of us. And again, there was a lot of favor God granted unto us. My wife and I, we got up there. Um, they bought brand new furnishings for the home that we were in. As soon as I landed there, I got a nice cushy job. As soon as I landed there, I was asked to teach high school Bible, and God just poured out the
So
blessings.
so 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 how did you run into your wife Marilyn? If
Yes,
How did you run into her? What's the story on that side?
Marilyn was born in Curacao, and she grew up in England.
Okay.
And she came the first, I think it was the first weekend that I was in Toronto. She came to visit a friend in Toronto also.
Okay.
And that very first Sabbath, Saturday, we met each other in church. And we've been together since then.
So that must be some that what kind of meeting that was,
It was a
what?
church service, and
Yeah, I
one
know,
of
the church service. You know the serve, but what level of meeting that you went with for the first time in a church service, coming from different places, and it never break.
Well, we were together. The friend that she has, it was a friend of mine, and she introduced us. We went to have lunch at the same place, and we talked and we chatted, and we spent some time together. And then she went back to England. We communicated just about every day while she was there, and I was in school. And then she returned, and 2 years later, we got married.
So that was another thing that, oops, coincident. Yeah, bam, bam, bam. This is happening right here, and here we
Yeah,
go,
yeah.
attached. All right,
Again,
wow.
again, again, not so much coincidence, but God's divine intervention, God's plan, I believe.
Well,
46 years later,
we're gonna celebrate that. To God be the glory.
amen.
You just got a couple years on me, just two, only two. Only two. I think we've
Amen.
been journeying in the same level because the age 22, that kind of thing. So I think
Right.
we have a number of things in common. A number of things in common. One of these days we may be gonna chat as brothers differently from this and say, okay, we have some things in common, right? And
When
okay.
you retire, Doc, when you retire.
Yeah, man, and I know now you kind of really pushing fire. I know you're pushing fires. I know you're pushing fire, man, but I'm gonna learn from you. I'm gonna learn from you, man. I'm gonna learn from you. I'm talking to Dr. Cassimy. This, and you hear by now you've heard that he's a Seventh Day Adventist brother, but you would know by meeting the man that he's not. a hardened Church of God, Pentecostal, Protestant guy because of the kind of relationship that he has established among others. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later about the drive, what drives you with that kind of freedom of fellowship. So let's go on. So now you're in school, you're married to this lady, and where's your life going after that?
Well, one of the things I mentioned to you earlier on, I sang. There was a quartet that we had that we traveled right across Canada singing. Um, the head of the music department was a Caucasian man. Three of the other singers were Caucasian, and I was the only black
Oh
with
Lord,
them,
yeah.
traveling from Newfoundland, Canada to British Columbia, and everything in between. Even some of the cities in the United States at the border, and sang at what we call the camp meetings all summer, 3 months, traveling
Mm.
in I forgot what they call it now, but one of those nice vans, traveling, spending time singing, and being paid to sing.
Wow.
Being paid to sing. Half of my tuition was paid just doing that. Also, I had the opportunity on many occasions those 2 years to travel with the president of the university to Ontario, where I came from, to recruit students at the college where I started.
Wow.
That was something that I enjoyed doing
So
because
you became a notable figure.
I don't know about notable, but notable is pushing it a little
Okay,
far.
okay, 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 okay. All right. Maybe a little bit, but if you're traveling with the president, then
Yes,
if you're traveling with the president, that is not the average thing that happens.
yeah, travel with the president because he wanted the school where I started was a feeder school for the university,
Okay.
a big feeder school for the university. So I will go with him and I will talk to some of the students who I knew from the Toronto area, the bigger brothers and sisters, and had them ready to talk to him so that when they talk to him, he just signed them up for college and for university.
All right. Okay. So great story. Great story. Great story. All right. So uh somebody saw the pastoral what signs or symptoms of pastoral. What did you feel? Did you feel the same like they were seeing, or you were saying somebody said they see that quality, they saw that quality in you? What was Steve saying? Was Steve feeling the drive towards that, or Steve adapt to what others were implying?
No, Steve felt it first,
Steve felt it first.
and the others affirmed it.
Okay, okay, okay.
Especially that the university president, who was from India, and loved people and loved me dearly. Um, and a number of the other faculty and staff members, the head of the theology department. Um, the Lord blessed me, and I got good grades. And as I said to you, there weren't too many blacks up there, so things like preaching classes, the Caucasian community enjoyed listening to the black brothers preach.
Oh, come on, man! Listen, we have too much. We have too much in common. I'm telling you, we have too much in common. Too much in common for this conversation.
Hmm.
Where I went to my first Bible Institute. I was the only black guy there for almost 4 years.
Have mercy. Have
I was
mercy.
the only black guy there for almost 4 years. One guy came in halfway to do 1 or 2 semesters, and I remember when we were doing doing practical preaching, right? We were doing practical preaching. I
Mm-hmm.
remember some of those guys because I'm a Pentecostal guy, and those
Mm-hmm.
are
Mm-hmm.
Baptist guys,
Mm-hmm.
and those Caucasians guys were just say, Orville, make sure don't preach like a Baptist, you know. They're saying, make sure don't preach like a Baptist. They want to feel that thing. So don't hold it back. You know. So
Yes,
so that's
yes,
the
yeah.
same kind of thing that you're saying to me. So I think we
Certainly.
have too many things in common. We have
Mm-hmm.
too
Mm-hmm.
many things
Mm-hmm.
in common.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness. All right. All right. Okay. Something. So you actually born and grew in the Adventist religion. You are what you can organization. You're born and grow in that. You've never veered off. You've never had an inclination. You never experienced anything else. That's your core for all of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So my question, I wanna ask you um how how have you developed the comfort, maybe that's a good word. How have you developed the comfort, um the what do I say, non-judgmental, how do you, maybe you can put it into better terms for me from your perspective. How do you grow into, how have you grown into an Adventist minister who have been associated with Protestants, and was comfortable, and have always been comfortable in brotherhood, relationship, caring, sharing, ministering. Tell me what create that comfort zone for for uh for Cassimy, because when I was growing up, before we get a better understanding of how not to judge people, there's a perception. There's a perception that, oh, this one is good, that one is not good, and and we kind of classify people and segregate ourselves. How have you developed that comfort of not being too religious, or not making religion a factor in relationship? Maybe that's a good question right there.
Yeah, good question, Doc. Very good question. Very good question. Um, God bless the day I learned to differentiate between religiosity and spirituality.
Okay.
And so one's religion um, is not necessarily a concern to me. One's spirituality is more where I will lock with somebody. Like, for example, let's go back to Bishop McKay.
Mm-hmm.
The day Bishop McKay and I met, I knew he was Church of God of Prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
He knew I was Seventh Day Adventist. We have never spoken about our religions. We talk about our spirituality. We talk about um, being like Jesus. We talked about being like salt, being like light. Those are the kind of conversations we have. He was aware of the fact that I was a Seventh Adventist pastor. I was aware that he was a bishop of a church. Matter of fact, we preached in each other's churches.
Right.
I think I've preached in Bishop McKay's church more than I have preached in some of the Adventist churches. And that's not an indictment or anything. It's
Right.
just
Right.
whenever he
Right.
needed me, he called me. Because, and whenever I needed him, I called him. Whenever something was wrong with our kitchen at our church and we needed to have a function, we went over to Bishop McKay's church. There was no questions about that. There was no funds exchanged. Anytime Bishop McKay walked into our church at Grand Concourse, everybody, all my members knew Bishop McKay, and they would walk him right up to the front. Um,
Man. Listen, I admire you. I really do. For the little that I have known, I admire you, and I wish that more of us, I wish that more of us could discover the spirituality and not the religiosity, as you say, or not the organization importance, right? Because I think we lose focus when we make one's religion the primary thing to as a deterrence or as a welcome.
yeah,
and,
because
and
Doc, see, for me, religiosity is what we do.
right,
Spirituality is who I
it's
am.
who we are.
I
Mhm.
am.
Right,
And somebody who can ask me probably saying now, how do you measure spirituality? You measure spirituality by the fruit of the spirit, Galatians chapter 5. That's how you measure. Fruit, love, joy, peace, long suffering, kindness, meekness, faith, temperance. So that's spirituality. You measure religiosity by things you do. All the things. The scribes and the Pharisees were great religious people,
right,
but they killed Jesus.
right.
They killed him. There was no spirituality. Jesus was spiritual. That's why they criticize him so much, because and they crucified him because he just did good.
Hmm.
That's who he was. And so um, I have a number of Church of God of Prophecy friends, Bishop Ball, Bishop um, I forgot his name. He worships now with one of my they what's his name? Uh,
Where is he working?
he's in the Bronx.
Oh,
He's in the
Martin,
Bronx. Martin, Bishop
or
Martin.
or in,
I
or in
hope he's
Martin,
not listening. I hope
or
he's
in
not
Martin.
listening.
You forget his name, right? Then you're gonna hold. that's
My
that's
good
my
friend, my
personal.
good
That's my
friend.
personal friend. That's my
Yeah, but
personal
he would
personal
he will
friend.
excuse me because he knows that I'm retiring soon. So he would excuse me. But those guys, I mean, if any one of the if Bishop Martin something, or Bishop Ball, or any one of the guys in they have a problem, or there's an issue, they want some help or something, the churches, they can't use their church one Sunday, and they need a church, they know that they could call me, and I will certainly make sure that one of our buildings is open up to them immediately. That's how we live. That's how we live. That's how I
I
lived with Bishop McKay.
I think that is as healthy as it gets. That's as healthy as it gets. As you said, and I said we have so many things in common, and I'm not here to talk about myself, but just for you saying the things that you've said, I remember going, and my wife and I, we preach, and we sing together at the Baptist. I preach their huge organization. We have
Mhm.
had I had the minister, the pastor of the biggest Baptist church come to my little local church and preach at my local church. And I preach at the Baptist, and I never talked about, because what we learn, how when you're mature and you understand that we're not here to preach religion or organization or doctrine. Our doctrine. We're not here to preach and teach doctrine. We're here to fellowship. And I go there and I don't talk about baptism with the Holy Spirit and speaking with tongues. We talk about the love of God and talk about scripture as scripture relates. So I could imagine you're comfortable, and the Church of God guys are comfortable that you can come to their church to preach, and you're not going to come to preach and say remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy, and they're not going to come to your church and said, the Sunday resurrection is what matters, and that Jesus said to come on the first day. Because when we do things like those, we create division among ourselves, and we cannot minister to the world around us because of the separateness in our own religious background.
My Church of God of Prophecy friends, Church of God of Prophecy or Church of God of Christ?
Church of God
Prophecy?
of Prophecy. Church of God of
Yeah,
Prophecy.
my Church of God of Prophecy friends, I told the Bishop Ball, Bishop Martin, and any of the other guys know that when they invite me to come to speak, I come to help build up the kingdom and preach Jesus Christ. They will tell you not once in the 22 years or 23 years I've known those guys that I preached for them or they preached for me, that we had any embarrassment or conflict or something like that. There is nothing better than preaching Jesus Christ and him crucified.
Clean cut.
There is nothing to compare with preaching Jesus and helping to build up his kingdom.
Whether you go fellowship Saturday or Sunday, if you can preach Christ and him crucified, that's all matters.
That's
that
right.
matters.
And he's coming again.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Amen. Amen. I am talking to Dr. Steve Cassimy, an incredible brother, as you hear, has no quabs, has no reservation, has no drawbacks in his fellowship, and is accommodation of people who are of different religious background, because he makes that non-factor in relationship. All right, so Dr. Cassimy, let's go on from the religious part of it. Let's go into the pursuit. Now I see that you have three children. Are grown children? Is that three? Two grown children.
Yes.
Two grown children. Right. Two grown children. All right. So tell me in this now, what spurred your desire to pursue family ministry in the sense in that sense? What pursued that? Because you've been married for 47 almost years now.
Yes.
Right? God bless you. You keep on doing it. And for 45 years, you both been facilitating and teaching marriage enrichment seminars for over 40 years. What triggered that? Where did that come from?
It morphed into, because my wife, she's from a large family also. I'm very we're both very family oriented people, and so family ministries just became sort of an automatic step when I decided to focus on something, especially for my doctoral degree. Mm-hmm. Getting involved in couples retreats and getting involved in couples seminars. We attended a number of those when I was in the seminary. And so it morphed into us now doing it. One of the things we had to do while we were in the seminary, pursuing some of these courses, was to be involved in, after we've attended the courses, like the family ministries courses, we now had to go and do a seminar somewhere for one of the churches. And my wife and I, we became attached to it. And
so that was part of the protocol requirement for. That was a part of the requirement for the school?
No. That was extracurricular.
Okay.
That was extracurricular. That had nothing to do with the Masters of Divinity degree. This had to do now with us preparing ourselves for wider service, and for and for doing other things. Some of the other folk did some other things, but we focused because we were so family oriented. Both our families were close, and large families on both sides, and so family just kind of stuck in us. We were always accommodating our families, whether we were in Michigan, Ontario, Alberta. The whole group would always come up. So it kind of morphed into that situation.
All right. So so you've been doing that for ever. So you became your next love, second love. What?
No. It was part of it was a portion of the first love ministry, because it's ministry too. Yeah.
All right. So I noticed that you have ministered in 6 continents.
Yes.
Every continent has its own experience, right? Its own culture, uh, drawbacks, excitements. Uh, give me a synopsis of some of the experiences that you've gained going on different continents. What was your shock and awe moment? What was your what's another word I could say? Uh, I'm trying to find this word here. Oh my
Aha
goodness,
moment.
aha moment, exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. So tell me what was your shock and awe or your haha moment in any of these continents. Somebody said it resonates so much in your mind that you can't bypass it.
Well, Asia, in India, um, the cars had to stop when cows were crossing the street for hours. The amount of people over there, the auto rickshaws that they drive over there, the little motorcycles that they put a covering over, the three wheelers, they make them the three wheelers. You would see in any one day, any morning, as you were going outside, um, and as the conductor let out the kids, 18, 19, 20 kids crammed up in there coming out. um, the wonderful vegetarian curried meals in India. um, the few blacks who are there and how they are categorized. My wife and I, we had to give many of them some clothes and money because, India has this caste system. And these black kids who came from Kenya and some of the nearby African countries, they weren't treated well at all. They weren't treated well at all. And so when we got there, I was probably one of the first black pastors to go to the university and have a week of prayer. A number of the Indian kids wanted to be baptized, but the black kids who were there were about 40 of them. They stuck to us like white on rice because they hadn't had that at all. um, and they weren't treated very well. They weren't treated very well at all. And so for that week, they felt like it was a little heaven because a brother and a sister was there with them. So that was India.
So we're gonna keep India for 1 minute because again I say we have a lot of things in common, right? I've been to India twice.
Hmm.
So I can relate to all of the India stuff that you talk about there.
Hmm. Hmm.
I think one of the most fascinating things that I saw is that you said, at an intersection there a lot of intersection. There's no light, and footwalkers and donkeys and cows and goats and bike riders and cars, everybody pass in an intersection that is as congested as you can get, and
Yes,
nobody's
yes.
getting killed in that intersection. Right?
True.
Cows
That's
are
true.
walking, donkeys are walking, people on foot and cars, and everybody just take their time, horns up, tooting horns and things until everybody come through and keep going. That is one of the most fascinating things that I have seen.
Hmm. Hmm.
And all the other things,
I
four or
think I
five,
think
four or five, a whole family on a little motorbike, a whole
yeah.
family, five
Yes,
people,
yes,
six
yes,
people in a
yes.
little motorbike.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think also once we deplaned and we saw the amount of people at the airport, we could not believe that in any one place there could be so many people.
that's
Yeah,
that's the difference of 250 million and to 1.2 billion, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Wow. Okay, so that's India. What's the next concept that's fascinating? The haha moment or wow, yeah, shock and awe.
um, I think South America has probably the best looking people in the world.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're just beautiful. The men and the women. Men are very handsome. Women are extremely beautiful, especially those with kinky hair.
Okay.
Um, Yeah, 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 yeah. I've always said that to my Brazilian friends.
So you just like, wow, are they
Yeah.
carved out? Is everything perfect here? Is there special mold for building people?
And they have said that a lot of people have told them that there's the South Brazilian folk, they're just good looking people.
They're good
Just
looking.
good looking
Okay, all
people. Yeah,
right, all right, all
good
right,
looking people.
all right. We got
Um
okay.
um Korea was difficult because at the time I think I was vegetarian, and everything had meat. So I
Mm,
struggled. I
mm.
struggled in Korea. I struggled in Korea. The other place I struggled to eat it was the Ukraine. I went to Russia and the Ukraine,
Yeah,
and
I was gonna ask about the Ukraine specifically because of how things are right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And we have two Ukrainian pastors who went with us. We have two brothers who live here, and we talk all the time. Matter of fact, we are raising some funds to send over there for them. Um, but Ukraine, I were you in the Ukraine also?
No, I haven't
Yeah,
gone to
they
no.
have they have I guess a Russian dish called borscht with beets and oil, and that is a delicacy. And I couldn't handle it. I couldn't handle it. So every every day when they cook that with bread,
Uh,
I remember you asked me for these aha moments.
aha
I
moments, right?
remember that I ate cereal in the box 3 times a day, and when I came back home, I think I went on the scale. It's either 6 or 7 pounds I lost because my wife has said to me, "What happened?" And she saw. Well, we were communicating all along, but
Was that for 1 week?
10 days.
10 days. I did a couple 10 days to myself. So it looked like that's a norm to go ten
Yes,
days.
10 days, 10 days.
Yeah.
And one of the highlights also, as you asked, was um, I preach every night in a bar. They transformed the bar, and they put curtains and stuff over the alcohol, and
Mm.
I preach right in front, right next to the bar. And at the end of the week, Saturday to Saturday, we had a baptism in Saturday afternoon, and in that little worship service we had, there were about 13 people who gave their hearts to Jesus Christ and wanted to be baptized.
Wow.
And out of that group, there was a guy. He was probably in his 50s, but every night he came to the meeting, he was drunk. Every night, and every night we made the appeal. He came. He wanted to give his heart to the Lord, and he was in tears. Aha moments coming. And this Saturday morning, he came to church inebriated. And when the appeal was made for those who want to be baptized today, he came up, tears in his eyes. The folks said, no, we should not baptize him. He's a drunk. Don't do that. I told them, and myself and a couple other people said, no, 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 no. Let him give his heart to the Lord.
Can anyone forbid water, right?
That's right. And the Saturday afternoon, he pulled me aside and we got the translator. And the translator said that he wants to go in the water. And because he's a bad boy, that's the translation she gave. Because he's a bad boy, he wants me to leave him down a little longer than all the others.
Just don't drown him, right?
but he didn't want to be drowned. He just wanted to be
Exactly,
left a little longer
exactly. Just
downstairs.
just want to make it just soak me a little bit more.
And one of the last things I tell you, several years later, in communicating with the translator, he was still in the church.
Oh wow.
He was still in the church.
Beautiful,
So
beautiful.
that was another one. That was
That
another one.
that is a ha moment.
Yeah.
And again, I know I don't know what the culture concept might be back then, but I know where we were from. Where we were from, um, baptism had significance,
Hmm.
both for the one who is baptized and those who observe the one who is
Hmm.
baptized.
Hmm.
It seems like once you make that step, once you've made that step, you are now so inner conscious that you have done that, you're requiring of yourself to live up to it, and others who've seen you do that are requiring of you to live up to that. So
Amen.
so
Amen.
maybe from a cultural standpoint, that impacted him, that wow, I've done this, I have to live up to it, and to God be the glory. uh,
Amen.
it could have
Amen.
been just the breaking, the turning point,
Mhm.
the revolutionary moment in the guy's life, that if you had denied him that, he maybe would have died a drunk.
You never know. You never
So
know.
wow,
Yes.
that's amazing. That's amazing. Haha moment. So let me come back to, as we, and my goodness, you see, we're gone. We see what the time says now. All right, so we're trying to get it to the top of the hour, and then we try to lock it down there. But tell me about, so you do seminars. You don't do well, I mean, every pastor does that, but uh family counseling, you
Yes.
do
Yes.
seminars, I'm sure, from the seminars and all of those things, and family enrichment, that you must have had couples that come to you and say, we are in a dire strait, things aren't working, we were doing good, and all of a sudden something falls apart, we can't get it together.
Yeah.
What's one of the worst, if you can have a description, what's one of the worst experience you can say, the most emotionally broken experience that you can say you've had in dealing with issues or situations like those?
Well, let me just say that I specialize. I wrote my doctoral dissertation on premarital education, which is counseling couples before they get married.
Okay,
The
okay.
whole system,
Wow,
a 6 month that we follow. So
wow.
if
So
a
you follow 6 months of
six
counseling
months,
prior.
6 months, 6 months.
That is
Yeah.
no joke.
Yeah, and I have my own. That's what my dissertation was all about,
Okay.
and I had to put together a package from day one, twice a month for 6 months, with a number of exercises and stuff that we do. So the whole concept is, if couples receive some premarital education before they get married, they will be equipped and they'll be able to utilize those tools when and it's not if, but
Not if,
when
but definitely
issues,
when.
yeah,
Exactly.
when issues come to the fore. um so that is where I we go. And then in addition to that, to buffer marriages, we do couples seminars, like Bishop Ball and his wife.
Right.
We do it every year with them also. Marilyn and I, we do seminars, um, to keep the marriages strong. Keep
Right.
the marriages strong.
Right.
However, there are times when couples um, they get divorced, or they have problems that cannot be resolved. If I cannot help them, then there are I know of people, resources. Sometimes the best thing you can do is to refer them to a good marital counselor.
Hmm.
And of course, we have those. You have sex therapists. You have all kinds of other people, depending on what we think they need. We give them the resource that they want. Right now I have a couple of couples. I didn't marry them, but they came to me, and they are getting some counseling from some marriage counselors.
Hmm. So back to the question. What would you say, if you can recall, something dire that you have dealt with, that maybe you couldn't help, and it couldn't help, and it the worst came out of it, if I could use that term, or you never see the end result because you refer them.
A number of couples. Maybe a 20% of couples that we have dealt with over the years, not necessarily, they probably didn't receive counseling or so, but they've decided to separate for whatever the reasons are. I have not had, I have not seen situations that's so difficult that God could not heal it.
Okay.
Um, there have been couples who have decided, listen, this thing is not for us, and they have parted their ways. Um, but to say that there has been one it was so bad that it was a catastrophe or something like that, I can't recall. I can't recall. There may be, but at my age, I'll forget one or two things.
Nice place to hide, right? Nice place to hide. All right, all right. So I'm talking to Dr. Steve Cassimy, and believe me, he has achieved so much that we can't even mention all his achievements. We can't even mention that all his achievements in this bio. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming just to look at it, but he is a good man who has continued to educate himself from in the 70s and until up now. Pastors, how many churches have you pastored over the duration of your ministry?
Yeah, not many, because I'm long term.
Okay.
You, in the Adventist church, 5 years in a church is considered a good thing. Um, I have pastored large churches for 10 years, which is significant. There are not too many Adventist pastors who have had that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So I pastored. I did my internship in a large church in Montreal. And then when I went to Toronto, there were two large churches that I pastored. And then I came to New York here. And I don't know if you know the Grand Concourse Seventh-day Adventist Church on the Grand Concourse on 169th, not far from Bishop McKay's church.
I don't
Um,
know the church um, per se, but I know the Grand Concourse, but I don't know the church personally.
yeah, yes,
In terms of the
yes,
building
yes.
structure.
Right. Big old Jewish cathedral there. Next time
Okay.
you pass by there, look for it.
I I don't normally go concourse because I'm not a Bronx guy. You know,
Mhm.
I'm on the outskirts most of the time. You know, I'm on the outskirts, passing on the
Yeah,
highways. Now I'm
yeah.
not the Bronx internal guy that gets into the local. But I used to, when my wife used to work down in the Bronx. I used to travel the Grand Concourse to get to uh what's the street on the side where she used to work. I forgot what the name was now, but I used to go to Grand Concourse to check her out, drop her off, or pick her up, or to take something, stuff like that, down that side. Sometimes she couldn't get parking and stuff like that. It was a little bit difficult around that area.
Hmm, hmm.
um
So,
so
so to answer your question, how many churches have I pastored? There were two in Montreal, um, three in Toronto, one here, and then I went to the headquarters where I did um, family ministries, personal ministries, Sabbath school. I was in charge of the pastors. I did that for about 12 years. But
wow.
even while I was doing that, if there was a church that came up, a pastor left, or something happened, as the ministerial secretary, I would go there for 6 months, a year, until a pastor was found for them.
So you generally pastor maybe 5 churches?
About seven
Seven.
churches.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. What is the what is the you have been the pastor on maybe that's what you're talking about here, a pastor and departmental director for the past 43 years. These are members of the Adventist Association of Family Life Professionals.
Yeah. There are a couple of things there.
Right.
A couple of things. First of all, um, there is an organization called what are the initials there again?
I'm just looking at the departmental director for the of the, and they are members of the Adventist Association of Family Life Professionals.
Right. That is a professional organization. You have to be qualified to be a member of. That's the
That's what I'm seeing, that I'm looking at the word professionals.
yeah, yeah,
So the
yeah.
average man can't be part of that.
No, because we do the teaching and the training.
Mm-hmm.
That's an organization. You have to be like, you have teachers organization. You have to be a teacher to be in the organization. This is an organization for family ministries, and both my wife and I, we were members of that organization. We would have our own retreats, and we'd have continuing education and those kinds of things to keep up with what's going on as far as family ministries is concerned. But I was also, while we held those credentials, I was the pastor's pastor, which is the ministerial secretary.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would also see there were some other things I did. English ministries director. There were 5 ministries in the conference: English, Spanish, French, Korean, and multi-ethnic. Those 5 subdivisions of the conference, and each of those directors was like a vice president of the conference. And I served for 4 years as one of those, the English ministries director.
Amen. I am talking to Dr. Steve Cassimy. We're just about getting down to the last few minutes of this conversation, and boy, it has been an interesting one. And if you missed it in the early part, you need to go back and listen to some of those stories that they are like, how did that happen? Does not make any sense. That is incredible. I never heard anything like that. All right. So tell me, Dr. Cassimy, I noticed that um, you also have knowledge connections or something to that effect with the government or the local government of your area. Seem like you have Bishop Mackey was really good at that. He was really, really good at that. He was so involved in so many of the organizations and groups and whatever the local legislators were doing in the community, and it seemed like you are a man of his of a kind similar to that. How have you? What are some of your ins and outs knowledge, function, and involvement of the government of your community where your church is or where you have ministered?
Yeah. The South Bronx, the 44th precinct, has and still has a very active police clergy organization. And the city council member, who was Reverend Foster, Wendell Foster, was very much involved with us. We knew everything that was going on in our area. I happened to serve as the president of the Police Clergy Coalition for 5 years. And my good dear friend and brother, Bishop McKay, was one of the vice presidents. He was the first vice president. Then we had Reverend Gooden, who was another one. And the fellowship, was wonderful. Martin Luther King Jr.'s Day was held at Grand Concourse, and all of the leaders would come in. Schumer came, and Hillary Clinton came and be speaking. And on that Saturday evening or the Sunday, the church would be full, packed with people, very close. And the city council member, Reverend Foster, then his daughter became the city council member. They kept us informed with what was going on. We were invited downtown to the opening of the forums down there in City Hall, and to pray and to do a number of things, just to be there and to see what was going on. They helped us to begin to begin soup kitchens and found stuff for us. We were all of us. We were involved in our communities. It wasn't just getting there to church on Sunday and leaving, or Saturday and leaving, but we were involved in the community. If a family in the community had a death and they weren't members of any one of the churches, they knew that they could come to any of us and ask us to utilize our church for a funeral or a wedding or something. And we always did that. Bishop Bishop McKay had in the summertime, he would pitch a tent not too far
Right.
away,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
and
He always did that.
I preached, he preached, somebody else would preach, Gooden would preach. It was just a wonderful thing. So community for us was part of what we did. It was not we tagged on community. We were the community,
Right.
and so we looked after each other.
Did that lead to discovering of resources? Did that give access to resources that were made available from the government to uh, not for profit organizations? Did you have access to something internal that some of the guys outside like me would know about?
Tremendous resources, tremendous funds. Not only funds are resources, but
Right.
money, grants for the churches. At one time, we used to go to a couple of places where we would be able to get furniture, food stuff, bicycles. Whatever they had, we got it. I can't remember the names of the organizations now, but there were all kinds of resources that all of our churches got. Massive resources.
Wow.
I remember just before Bishop McKay passed, he had a number of things that he was doing. One of them was some of the homeless folk would come into his church, and he told me how well, how very well the government took care of him in
Oh
the city
wow.
there.
Wow. Oh, very
Um,
well. I put the emphasis on very well.
the church that
Right,
is,
right,
because
right.
they open up their church to people who are outside. It was, I think, one of those very cold winters, and a lot of
Mm.
the homeless folk would come in. They would be able to get something to eat and drink, and a blanket, and they would stay there as long as they wanted to. And then they would go, and the community took good care of, the city council folk took good care.
Were the resources exclusive for certain community, or those are community resources, or were the state resources?
Both state
Both.
and community, because I remember there were times when the state's vehicles would come and deliver stuff at our church, and they would probably do that on a Tuesday, and on a Wednesday we would have it all displayed downstairs, and the line would wrap around the church a couple of times,
Mm.
and they would come in, and some of the folk from the state and from the city would come and observe, and the next week we will get more. Just wonderful, just wonderful. My ministry in the South Bronx was a real blessing for me. And working with the police, we used to go before the officers would go off on their beat. We would go down to the precinct. They have a large precinct down there, maybe 200-300 officers getting ready while some are coming, some are going, and we would have a prayer with them before they
Hmm.
left. We would ride every now and then in their squad cars with them just to see what's going on. Um,
I have not gotten in the squad cars yet, but
but I hope you
I'm
don't get in for the wrong reasons.
yeah. But again, we have a couple of things in common, not to the same extent. I'm part of the police clergy response team in where I pass it, in that community where I pass it. But maybe I'm gonna have to talk to you a little bit more off ear, so I can say, gotta tap into the man. The man is coming to the point of his life. He say, you know what, I've given it all, and I'm about to pass the baton. What should I have asked Dr. Cassimy that I didn't ask? What can we know about you, ministry, perception, persuasion, conviction? What something about your ministry, your own observation? I'm trying to broaden it out. What is something that is intriguing, inspiring, motivating to you that you think impacts ministry that when utilized we get the best result that I didn't maybe talk about.
Couple of things. If I had to do ministry all over again,
Mhm.
I'll do it the same way, the
that,
very same
that's
way,
that's
because
interesting.
I am blessed. I found it rich. I think the Lord led, and when the Lord is leading, you can always go back and follow in the same footsteps. Um, that's one thing. The second thing, I'm not giving you them in any order.
That's all right.
Um, it may sound simplistic, um, but my goal in life, the older I get, the more I live, I have one goal in life. That is to be more like Jesus every day. Anything else will follow. But my goal in life is to be like Jesus every day. And of course, if you're like Jesus, you're going to do all the things that Jesus did. You're going to behave the way Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like Enoch, and Enoch walked with God, and they were so
Was
close
not,
that
yeah,
God took
right.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but to be like Jesus, and my church members will tell you. Do you ask them what's Pastor Cassimy's goal? They said it's to be like Jesus. They know, they know. And we put there is absolutely nothing better for me than to be like Jesus, to think
I'm
like
sure that
Jesus, to
I'm
be
sure
like
there's not I'm sure there's nothing better for any of us. The
right.
struggle or the challenge is getting there.
Yeah, yeah. And the third and last thing, I think you asked about putting it all together. I think I think as a pastor, um, the greatest joy as a pastor for me is to be, or has had to be, and still is to be, a good shepherd. There are, I think we are losing the sense of shepherding in ministry. We becoming too classical. Guy gets out of school, he wants to do a doctorate, and these younger guys, a lot of them, they join the bow tie brigade, and
Both
and
are
and, and
great.
yeah, yeah, and they want a large church, and they want to be a senior pastor, they want to be a lead pastor as soon as they finish seminary. Um, but for me, being a shepherd, understanding why um, David said that a sheep needs green grass and still waters.
Hmm.
You ask some pastors that now they don't know
You have
that
a
if
clue.
a sheep eats dry grass, it gets stuck in their throat, and you have to take it out with your hand as a shepherd. That's why the Bible says, "He leadeth me beside the still waters." A sheep will not drink running
Busy,
water.
busy running, buffing water.
It, it,
Yeah.
a shepherd has to cup the water and bring it. If he has 100, he has to cup it 100 times, bring it to the sheep to drink, because they will not drink running water. And so the whole aspect of being a good shepherd, not just a shepherd, but a good shepherd, making sure that the 90 and 9 are in there, and if there's one missing, you got to go back to find that one sheep. um, but that's the joy of being
That's,
a
yeah.
good shepherd, knowing that all the sheep are in the fold, and you can close the door and lie down now. The Lord has placed these sheep into our hands, and we have to care for them. We have to care for them, understanding that sheep are if you put a sheep next to a number of other sheep from another fold, they're gone. They're
Yeah.
gone. They're not the brightest animals in the world. They're hurt easily, like church
Yeah.
folk. They get fevers. They are bruised. And when the sheep come into the fold at night, the shepherd has to check to see if fevers, cuts,
Yeah.
bruises, and take care of them. And being a good shepherd is a lot of work, but it's very rewarding.
It
Very rewarding.
that's the word I want to use. It's very rewarding. It's very rewarding to be a shepherd. And as you said that we're wrapping it up, but we're studying the book of John right now. We've just in
Mhm,
the chapter 10, of course, where
mhm,
Jesus put the emphasis on the good shepherd. The
mhm,
good shepherd who would give his life for the sheep,
mhm.
and we know the history of how they would lock them in and use their own bodies to guard the gate to the
That's right.
sheepfold to protect them from wolves coming in
Mhm,
to steal them.
mhm,
And he talks about the hireling,
mhm.
and I think, and I'm not labeling anybody, I think we see more hireling today than we see shepherd. People who are for hire. They are
Yeah,
for hire.
yeah, and I think Bishop, that's because a lot of people, I don't know, a lot of people, ministry is an occupation, not a calling for them, and so
Yeah,
they
I
treat it
agree.
like an occupation.
I agree.
You and I, God be praised, we treat it as a calling.
Right.
And when God calls you and you say yes, you never turn back. You never turn back. It's not a business we're in.
Amen.
If it was a business, then we would have to always be asking for a little more pay or something like that. But it's a calling, and when God has called you, He will make sure that all your needs are met, even if
Amen.
the package that you're getting is not 100% of what you would have wanted. But his promise is that I'll supply all your needs according to His riches in glory.
Amen. Wow. My friends, I'm talking to Dr. Cassimy. We're just about Dr. Steve Cassimy, a Seventh-day Adventist pastor, and he has all the degrees and the ministries and the involvement and the accomplishment. Too much to mention that I'm sure he wouldn't want me to mention all of those tonight. But boy, I'm going to have to take my time and look back at his resume or his biography, not his resume, but his biography, because it is loaded, compacted, uh, so compacted. There's so much happening there that boy, it is hard for me to even pick them out because it is like so closely attached to his life. But I'm assuming that he's a healthy man. I'm assuming that he's a healthy man because he is married to Marilyn Harper, who's now Marilyn Cassimy, and she has been a nurse for 40 something, 45 years.
Mhm. She's retired now.
She's retired now as a
Yes, she's
nurse for
retired.
45 years. God bless her and her contribution to the healing and the help of those who have been in need. And I'm sure she will continue to nurse you
A good
as
nurse, a good
as you
nurse.
as you slow down, as you slow down.
Yes, a good nurse.
All
Yes,
right,
yes.
so Dr. Casimir is publicly stating that he is making plans for his retirement. All right, no bones about that. He has come up the hill and say, okay, I don't want to retire when I don't have anything left in me. I want to have at least a little bit of fun time so I can move around and have a little bit of fun. When I grow up, I want to be just like you.
Doc, I tell folk because a lot of people I say to me, why are you retiring already? I mean, you could probably do another 10 years, and probably that's true. But I believe that retirement should be enjoyed, not endured. I see too many of my friends retire and they've worked almost till they're almost 80. And as soon as they're done, they get sick.
Yeah.
And retirement doesn't mean that you're not going to do anything. You're going to sit down and count your fingers and toes.
Right. Right.
I have some things that I've been asked to consider part time once I retire, and most likely I will do some things when I retire, but not a full-time job anymore.
Right.
Maybe 2 days a week, 3 days a week, three half a days or something. There are some things that we are talking about: counseling, coaching, mentoring younger pastors. That's something that is on the table. So
There's
yeah.
always something that you can do. As you said, it's not like okay, I boxed up all my books and I put duct tape on everything and I put it in a way and I store it away and now I'm just going to, as you say, count your fingers, per se. But yes, the rigor of responsibility and accountability and to make things function and operational. And if I don't do it, it's not going to be done. I understand, and that's where I'm hoping that I get to somewhere soon in my life as well. Dr. Cassimy, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for joining us, man. It's my pleasure to talk to you. But I know this is the last thing that is on here that you actually wrote a book with a couple of other ministers and a guide to effective pastoral ministry.
Yes, yes. We wrote that several years ago. It became an international book. Matter of fact, it was translated into Russian
Oh wow.
and a couple of other Slavic languages. And we've just, uh, 2 days ago, 2 days ago, that same group, with two other people, we have just published another book called The Gift: What the Sabbath Means to Me.
The gift, what the
It,
Sabbath
it
means to
it
me.
just came out,
Okay.
and I'll put a copy. I'll put a copy in the mail for you when we get offline. You'll send me your
I
answers.
appreciate that. Is it
Yes.
gonna be this one or the new one? Or both?
Oh, I can send both for you. I can send both for you. I can send
Okay,
both for you.
okay. So I do have a book that I can send you a copy of my book to, but mine is on the seven churches of Asia Minor.
Right, right,
So I could send a copy
right,
of that. So we could we
right.
could we could have them crisscrossing.
You know,
Uh,
as we talk about that, Bishop McKay, I think he has all of the books that I've been involved in.
oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah. He
wow.
always, yeah.
So now that our friend is gone, his place is one that I can't fill, and I will never even try to fill his place. And especially, I'm not in the Bronx, so I'm not as accessible. I'm not as accessible, and neither do I have access like he has because my zip code, zip code matters, right?
No, no, no. I'm not worthy. I'm not
not
worthy.
not for you, not for you. Zip code maybe no matter to you, but it matters to the community in terms of what Bishop Mackey was able to walk into some place and say, well, I am Earl Mackey and I pastor here, my church is here. Then he could be considered. Where mine in New Rochelle is not going to be considered because a whole Westchester versus the boroughs, so that's a whole different story.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah. But it's nice talking to you, man. You're just a great guy. I appreciate you. I appreciate your candor. I appreciate your openness to fellowship and brotherhood. Your rejection. If I maybe I don't want to say rejection. It sound a little bit not appropriate, but but what's the word I want to use? Um, you maybe phrase it, not using religion as barrier. Maybe that's a good way to put it,
Mhm.
not using religion as barrier. And if most of us, or if all of us could get to the point where we do not use our religion as barriers for fellowship and communication and communion, then boy, we would have a healthy surrounding and we would impact the world around us much more.
And that, I think that's what Jesus did too.
Exactly.
As a Jew, he did not use that as a barrier to get to the Samaritan woman and others. We have many stories of Jesus, the
Yeah.
Canaanite woman.
That's a
You
good one.
know,
What some a skeptic might say he didn't have the same approach to the Syrophoenician woman, but then he commended her for never seen such great faith, no
oh
than in
yeah,
Israel. So
certainly, certainly,
yeah,
certainly,
wow,
certainly.
wow, wow. Good to have you, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Doc.
And
Thanks for
and
having
hanging
me.
hanging there, I'll play my little ad on my book, and then I'll come back and I'll log off from my live, and I'll come back and then we can talk back offline like before when we started. So my friend, I've been talking to Dr. Steve Cassimy, a very very friendly, sociable, good pastor brother who puts Christ in front and fellowship with his brothers as priority over either of our religions. And that could tell you how comfortable that we are in this conversation. I'm a Pentecostal guy to the core, born, bred, grow up, and he is an Adventist guy to the core, born, bred, grew up, and all of his ministries there. But the fellowship is contagious and is not impacted by our doctrinal beliefs or organizational structure or religious affiliation. That is not an issue. And I hope that everybody could grow into that same way and impact our world even better around us. My friend, if you have not listened to all of this story, once we log off, it's a good time to go back and listen. If you haven't shared it on Facebook or on YouTube, it's a good time to do that now. His story is a healthy one, and everybody who have religious differences should listen to the story. All right, until next time, God bless you. Thank you for joining me on another Let's Talk with the Doc. I look forward to seeing you again. I am also on TikTok, so if you're talking, you can check out ORB Ministries. We are there. All right, follow me on Facebook, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and check it out on TikTok. We'll see you next time. The 7 churches of Asia Minor, the churches in Revelation. Have you ever wondered how relative they are to the churches today? Get a copy of this book, The 7 Churches of Asia Minor, and it will unveil truth to you. Chances are you'll find your own church related to one of these churches, and you might not like what you see, or maybe you love what you see. But get a copy of this book and begin to discover why Christ sent those 7 letters to 7 churches and addressed them separately based on their character. Well, thank you for checking in on ORB Ministries. I trust that you will share with your friends, subscribe, hit the bell for notification, and stay tuned, because you never know what's next or who will join the conversation.